entrepreneurs and professionals of Tampa Bay. Welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections for elevating your business. Welcome to Getting the Edge with Kelly Wilson. And here's your host, Kelly Wilson.
Thank you. Good morning. I was going to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, I guess, depending on whatever time you watch us. Thank you so much for joining Getting the Edge. Welcome. Getting the Edge is a wonderful opportunity to find out backgrounds and stories and trials and tribulations and just brilliant business leaders in our community that share their stories, and we can learn so much from each other. I'm a true believer of that. So we've been here each and every week for you for 5 or 6 years now, bringing you the edge and trying to instill in you inspiration and information and everything that you need to move forward. So again, thank you so much for being with us. Edge is brought to you by Edge Media Hub. For more details on Edge, visit edgemediahub.com. Thank you so much to our Getting the Edge sponsors. Urban E-Recycling is our Season 7 show sponsor. Thank you so much to Urban E-Recycling. And also, thank you to Edge Platinum Partners, All Trust Insurance, your trusted insurance or employee benefits partner. Pilot Bank, thank you so much. Also, USF Mooma College of Business and Visit Tampa Bay. Edge would not be here and be what it is today without all of your support. So thank you so much for that. Total Access begins with annual partnerships. Again, for more details on that, visit edgemediahub.com and find out all the details involved in our partnerships and all of the great benefits. One being here on the show with us today. So thanks so much. So excited about our upcoming magazine issue. It's our second annual celebration of women. That'll be launching late April, early May. In fact, we're going to talk today with one of our 2021 honorees. And I'm so excited to have her on the show today as well. So again, thank you so much for being here. I'll talk a little bit more about Edge as we go on, but really excited to introduce our guest today, Brooke Palmer Kuhl. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, Brooke.
Thanks, Kelly. We go back a long way,
yeah,
so I feel like this is a natural fit for us.
I know. No, it's so good to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited and honored to have you as part of the 2021 second annual celebration of women.
Well, equally as honored. Thank you for selecting me.
No, thank you. It's great to, again, we've known each other for quite some time now, but it's great to find out the background, and I love everyone's stories.
Well, I think things have changed as we both have over the years, and businesses have evolved, and I mean, I got married. So there's that. So
that was like the wedding of the century, I do believe.
I don't know about that, but I do think that Tampa has become such a burgeoning city for business and growth, and it's thriving. So it's really exciting to see publications like yours grow from where it started to where it's at now, and who's gracing your cover and everybody who's involved with it. I mean, it's remarkable. So kudos to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I enjoy bringing everyone together, and anytime you create something, there are no rules or ways of doing things. So you kind of just figure it out as you go. But it's been enlightening as we have kind of come to the conclusion that bringing a group of people together on the front covers, being that we do 3, a year, we're still able to highlight 30 individuals, on the front covers and then the features throughout. So, I joke, I am very optimistic. I am a happy person overall, but it's so funny and inspiring to sit down and listen to your story and Pam Iorio and Rita Lohman and these amazing women. In fact, Rhea Law, I was with yesterday, and it just puts me into overdrive, as far as
and to think that us as younger businesswomen. I don't know if we're young businesswomen anymore, but
I think so.
Okay. But
I think so.
People like Arita and Rhea and Pam who have paved the way for
exactly
those like the next generation.
Yes,
I do that in air quotes, but
we talk about that all the time. I don't even think they realize how significant
they don't. And I think they're mentoring in a way that's so subtle and so touchless that it's touching us, but they don't even see it. And I can tell you, knowing Rita very well, knowing the others somewhat peripherally, but just other women business leaders in this town that have shaped my life over the last 20 years. It's incredible. And then I'm sitting here thinking like, well, how am I in that chair now? That's not how it's supposed to be.
Right. Well, and that is, and so I was with Rhea yesterday and we're talking, and so she was on one of our covers. She was my second cover after Buckhorn. Mayor Buckhorn was our first, and then Rhea. And
it's a good lineup, lady.
6 years ago, and as I'm sitting there talking to her yesterday, and again, I never think of me like, I'm like way down here, Rhea and everybody else is like here, and because I think we're never looking at ourselves that way, like you just said, it's like, and so Rhea had made the comment that, wow, Kelly, 6 years, like, congratulations, you've never given up. I mean, I know it's not been easy, but you've done it. Anyway, just to have that, 6 years later, I don't know, it meant a lot to me. And I told her,
but it's the truth. But it's women like that inspired you to keep going.
Absolutely.
And I think it's that whole mentality of one foot in front of the other. And knowing that, I mean, look, you're in print and digital media. Like, let's just be honest, the last 18 months of your life have not been that much fun.
Right.
So, and as somebody who comes out of, events and PR, same thing.
Absolutely,
like, talk about innovating in a pivot. You've got to figure out what's going to be working and what's going forward in the future. And if you know that you can look forward, and people like a Pam and a Rhea and a Rita have like paved the way and really shown the kind of omnipotency, if you will, on like how to grow in business, that's just a great lesson for all of us.
Absolutely. And to hear their stories, and they'll mention someone that inspired them so many years ago.
Right.
And in fact, Rhea and I were talking, because when she first went into law, she went into environmental and land, and really
did not know that.
Really one of the only women at the time. There was one other, and really still didn't, like, she couldn't break the glass. Like, the men would not accept her, and it was so male dominated. And it's just interesting for her to share that story, and she'd even heard some of the men talking about her, and like,
but she probably met a woman that, like, I know that in my business career, I met a woman who I had to leave my job because of budget cuts in a nonprofit. And she used to be a bank president, and she was running the nonprofit like a bank. And I mean, I told her this story just even recently, but she said to me the day she had to let me go was, you're clawing at the ceiling and I need you to break it. And something like that being told, 18 years ago, 19 years, I mean, changed the whole trajectory of my life. So those are the types of people that inspire you to move forward. Now, I might not see her every day, but I think about that moment in her office probably every day.
Yeah, and those are those transitional kind of triggers in our life.
I wouldn't be sitting in this chair if she didn't say, like, get out of my office.
Right. So, and at that time, I'm sure
I was devastated. I'm 26. Like, what the hell did I know? No, I mean, and you think that your whole world's ending, but it wasn't. It was just beginning.
Yeah, and sometimes we don't know that. And I think, that's one of the lessons learned, that, and so often we want something so badly to happen or to continue when it's not actually meant to.
It might not be the right fit.
Right.
And I think that's what I've learned through events and PR. Sometimes the client isn't the right fit. Sometimes the people aren't the right fit. I say this all the time. Like, if I don't get a client, or I don't, win a wedding or whatever, I might not be that person. Not everybody wants like a loud unicorn as their wedding planner. Some people want just a yes person. Yeah. Some people want the soldier. I mean, you can be all those things, but it's okay. It's okay not to be the right fit. It's why some relationships don't work. It's why some friendships don't work. And if you can see outside of yourself and improve on that, maybe, why wasn't I the right fit? Or that's just okay. That was never going to work there. I do know that I've had business situations too where I'm like, this is just never going to be the way I feel good about it or the way they feel good about it. Because like whatever, their mind's not changing.
Right.
And I'm not changing who I am. So that's all right. Move on.
Right. And yeah, some you just don't mesh with. But,
nope.
And you're not meant to. Early on in my real estate career, because I sold real estate for almost 15 years, but early on, that's when I started studying psychology and astrology signs, because I figured if I could understand, and often in real estate, especially when you're starting out, you don't choose who you work with. You're taking anything that you can get. And so, at some point, you start trying to realize that these people, they're different than me. We have different realities. And then let me try to figure out how they work, so if you can understand a little bit about them. Right. And for me, I am so much a Taurus that I have found that other people, depending, not always, but 85% of the time it's pretty right on. And at least then, if they act a certain way, I don't take it personally.
Right.
And you'll expect it. almost,
Well,
anyway. So
and
it's
that's,
worked for me.
I'm sure other mentors or people in your life, like my father used to say, business isn't personal, and he's kind of right. And he used to also say that partners were meant for dancing. And in a way, those are two kind of things that I think about and say, he's right. I'm a very warm, fuzzy person. Like I'm a hugger, which, this COVID's been killing me. I'm sensitive. I mean, that's the cancer in me, I suppose. And that's how I run my business. I come from an emotional place. But what I have learned is that in some people don't react to that. Some people are very like, this,
toned, right.
And so, you change your approach, but you never change who you are.
Right.
That's just who I am. And the fact I need you to not give me some visceral reaction to everything, but at least validate it, whatever. But I do have one client that I know, they're never going to pat me on the head. And that's okay. I have other people who are my colleagues within that organization that do pat me on the head. Yeah. And I know that seems kind of crazy, but
that. So, and you don't take it personally.
No, I have managed my expectation, which I think is also one of my favorite catchphrases, manage expectations, because you have to. And I'm not expecting that result or that response from that person anymore because I was always disappointing.
Right, and you don't take it personally because that's how they are, right?
I finally learned not to.
Respect them for just who they are.
No, right? And years later, it's fine. Yeah. You know what? That's not who you are, but that other person is going to come and do a cartwheel and tell me I'm the greatest person in the world. That's okay. And fine. Know your role, stay in your lane, whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting that with just relationships and just with people,
yes.
But again, you learn to just respect people for who they are.
Correct.
And just kind of.
And think about it. These people have also probably been in business 15, 20 years. They're not changing either. So you have to say, okay, this is how I do it. This is how they do it. It's not right or wrong. It's just how it is.
Yeah, most definitely. So, we all have been through quite a transitional time. The last, I guess, it is crazy that it's
been a year, almost exactly, which is nuts. I'm like, all those Facebook memories are coming up, and I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to be a year past, a year in, and then all the talk with the vaccine.
But if you had asked me then, if I thought we'd be having this conversation now, there's no way I would have thought we would be.
Yeah, no.
I would not think the world would still be in the state that it's in.
Yeah. I don't think any
back
of us.
then.
Yeah. I never thought I would be so excited to be close to 50, for one, and two, be so excited to get a vaccine. Everyone.
I'm deathly afraid of needles. I was like, put it in my arm, and I was thrilled. I cried.
Yeah,
I was just overwhelmed with the fact. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever, because I felt like I wanted to keep living my life and traveling, and because of the work I do with restaurants and events and traveling, I can't. The COVID passports are going to become a real thing, with vaccinations and such, and I just didn't want to stop my life. And especially working in the restaurants, I need to be around my staff. I need them to feel safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want people to know that, believe in the science, I guess, if you will. I get that there's a lot of talk back and forth, but every day I get in the car, I just went to try to parallel park outside this building, and that was more risky than probably getting the vaccine, frankly. So I'm just being honest. I think that there's something to be considered for that.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of talk back and forth with all of it. And, I was talking with someone yesterday, and they were saying that, I think I'll just wait, and I'll let other people get it, and I'll get it in a few weeks or in a month, but I'll just, what do you...
But then when they're stuck on the island, when they can't get the vaccine because everybody got it...
Well, right, and I don't think we're all going to keel over in the next, month. I think any repercussions of anything would be many, many years. Who knows? I don't know.
I don't know. To me, again, it's all about taking risk. When this first started, my business coach said to me, if your father, your husband, had coronavirus and they said they'd let you in the room and the risk was that you could get it, but they were dying, would you go in the room? Yeah. And I was like, hell yes. Yeah. And you know what his response was to me? Well, that's what an entrepreneur does every day. You take those risks. Yeah. So to me, you have to think about it.
I guess it's a mindset then.
It is mindset. We take risks every day. Driving on 275 is a risk. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Brooke,
watch your hands. No.
Parking downstairs clearly was a risk.
Oh, the parking garage itself is a risk.
You save
yourself from that one.
To me, I guess I considered getting the vaccine as a low-risk option for me.
Compared to others that we make on a daily basis.
Exactly.
Sure. While I'm thinking of that, so restaurants. Right now, Edge is offering a special to restaurants. It is for our second annual celebration of women. I think our quarter-page ads are $8.98, and we have them 65% off, which is down to $3.75, because we want to help restaurants. I mean, everybody's trying to kind of regroup. But aside from that, we're also offering, a year a community partnership as well, which is $11.96 value. So pretty much you get almost $2,000 for $373. And we want to do what we can to help the restaurants and we have a lot of friends too, and we just want to do whatever we can, and we realize the markup and it makes sense, and we want to do what we can to help. So any restaurants that are out there, I believe by the time we air, we'll still be having it. We'll still be
I'd probably be emailing you after this show.
And we want to help. Again, I mean, we'll even create the ad, which is a $250 fee, which we $325 maybe, something like that. But we want to help all the restaurants in the community, all of our local brands. So if you are a restaurant, reach out to us at info@Edge Media Hub. We'd be happy to talk with you about an ad in the upcoming issue. And we do print 15,000 copies, and they're saturated, if that's a good word to use, throughout the Tampa community and beyond. So as well as our digital issue. So all right, that's my selling point for now. But we want to help restaurants. So as we're talking about that, I wanted to
Well, and restaurants right now need your help. So I guess this is my pitch camera, but like tip like your life depends on it. Eat out. It's safe. I promise you that restaurants were already employing 37 health protocols by the health department before coronavirus even happened. That is a Hillsborough County, state of Florida thing. So there were 37 things in place that you have to pass on your health inspection. So imagine now that coronavirus has happened, the other things that we're doing in place to maintain food safety, health safety, personnel safety. So a restaurant is a very safe place to be. And I've been working in them since the day they shut down this whole year. And I'm so proud of what my teams have done, because it has been a remarkable effort by our servers, our line cooks, our back of house, front of house.
The whole communities too.
I mean, my sommeliers at Burn Steakhouse were packing bags to go. I mean, you just have to kind of all get in and do it together.
Yeah. But that's what you've really seen is come together, is that team, that community, camaraderie.
I'll sweep the floor.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and that's what I did see. Those, even now, but those first 2 months where it was, real tenuous until we reopened in May, everybody did everything. Nobody, I always say that titles in business, especially they're like cartoon characters. You got to do all the jobs. If we are short a dishwasher and I got to go wash dishes that night so we can get through service, you do it. I see my executive chefs do it. I see them run expo. Mm-hmm. Running expo is not my executive chef's job, but guess what? If the expo person's gone and the food needs to get out, guess who's doing it? So
it's been a long time since I've been table, so that means taking the food to the table.
Correct.
Expo, right? Okay.
But the other night, one of my line cooks called in at our restaurant Chena, and my executive chef's I'm stodging. I'm the garde du mange tonight, because he's the one that's getting the food to the expo. So that's that's a line cook position. He's the executive chef and owner of our restaurant. But again, we all have to do what we need to do to maintain service and the level that we've been trying to produce for the last year. I would also say, show us some grace. That 3-star or 2-star Google review because your food took 5 minutes longer, just think about that. Honestly, get a manager. We'll try to fix it, or we want to fix it, but we are doing our very, very best, and we are going to have off nights, especially now. But I just promise you that everybody, at least in my restaurant clients, and I can say even clients that aren't my restaurants, we're all just busting tail to make sure that we're giving you an amazing experience. I mean, we should be so blessed and lucky that we live in Florida. Yeah. I mean, my parents are in Virginia. I have friends in New York and California. They come here and they're like, holy smokes, we can go out to eat. My sister is in Aspen, Colorado. They're at 25%. So she came here this past week and was like, this is crazy. And I'm going to visit her next week. We're eating at her house for Easter because we can't really go out.
Yeah, I was having a conversation recently just about that, how we are so fortunate.
We are so fortunate.
I have, being a single, mother and business owner, and trying to stay optimistic and foot forward. You watch the negativity that you allow in. So especially after the election and all that ended, I kind of just decided, all right, blinders. Just I create my own reality inside. I'll visit the exterior, reality when I need to, but otherwise I just try to stay focused. But I've just not paid attention to much of it lately, because it's just, you got to take a break.
Well, it's a lot. And I say to people, you need to take a pause for yourself. Personally, professionally, it's okay to do that. It's okay, like, literally, I mean, I'll admit this, like, my psychiatrist said to me this morning, like, sometimes it's not about feeling selfish. It's okay to have self-preservation. And because this past year has been hard for everyone. And whether you're a selfless person, which I consider myself that, she said it's not about being selfish, it's about your own self-preservation. So if I need to take 15 minutes to go get on my Peloton for me, that is quite all right. Because there's nothing that any of us are doing, and I mean anybody. And I don't even if you're a neurosurgeon, same kind of thing. Like, you have to take a break for you, because if you don't feel okay and mentally you're just a little off, or you're like, I just feel like Eeyore today, do that. Because it's real easy, especially with everything that's been happening, to like want to help and be nurturing and try to pick up everybody else or pick up your clients and run your business.
Especially when you have that mentality.
But then you forget about you.
Right.
And you're sitting here crying in your coffee, on a Zoom call. Like, that's not how you want to live your life.
Yeah.
And
a few years ago, just after I launched Edge in 2013 and really running the majority myself, but with amazing key people that we have, and I am so thankful to everybody. But as we grew from 3 members or partners, annual partners, to like 150 in a few years, and I get so close to everyone. And we do our motto with Edge is it's not only business, it is personal, because for years I tried to separate, like everyone tells you, but that's not my personality. I'm a hugger too.
Right.
And
that's okay.
So I embrace it, and I'm stopped trying to change who I am. I mean, this is me. I'm 48 at this point, so it is how it is. But anyway, but that's nice, I think, when you get to a certain point. But
I think that's probably why you have long-standing partners. I can certainly say it's why a lot of my PR clients and restaurants have stayed with me for so long. And even when they have ended our contract, it's never been about the work I did or me. It's either financial, or it was COVID, or it really has never been about me. And then I know that I'm doing something right. And
Absolutely.
These same past clients are the ones referring me to other restaurants or other clients, or saying she was the best and I love her heart and she's always here helping us. And I send opportunities that I think would fit those particular clients to them all the time, because you never know when they're going to need you again.
Yeah.
I always say it's like very full circle. And
absolutely.
I love the fact that I call a lot of them my friends. I mean, one of my past clients, I have dinner with her regularly, her and her husband. My husband and I've become very close with them in a very personal way, and it's been great.
Yeah.
But I don't need her to be my client to be close to her.
Right. No,
and that's totally,
that's great.
to me, it is never, like you said, as much as it was business when it was. I mean, one thing she did teach me is, like, I don't drink as much Diet Coke, because I would sit in her restaurant and she would walk by my table and pick up my Diet Coke and sit down iced tea.
Oh, is that right?
So whenever I order a Diet Coke, I feel guilty, because she did this with me for about a year and a half. And you will never see me drink one in front of her, ever. I'll drink wine, or I just won't.
Oh, wow.
Because she's like, so bad for you. And I just love that. She cares about my well-being.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that seems like such a simple, trivial thing, but I never forget it. And I'm telling you, every time I drink one, I think about her, which she probably loves. That she's in my head, like,
especially if it's something that she wants you to stop doing. Right.
No, well, because she's a very healthy person. She makes amazing food. It's beautiful. Like, every time I'm like, I could eat this all day. I wish I could eat this all day, every day. But those are the types of life lessons, those little things, those nuggets that you take with you along the way. Like, I love that I think about that all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
It makes me happy.
She probably loves that she's had that.
Oh, she thinks it's hilarious.
Yeah. So I was starting to say earlier when we were talking about having time for yourself and being, because ultimately, when we grew from 3 members or partners to 150, if I'm not okay and taking care of me, then I can't take care of everyone else. But I remember, because I'm so close to everyone and everyone had direct access to me, the phone was just nonstop. And it was, a lot of was helping and just talking people through things, because I had become so close to everyone. But I tell you what, there wasn't anything for me. Like, so I found myself
They were
one
plugging
day,
into you.
Yeah, and I found myself one day parked at off of Del Mabry near Staples, and literally under a tree, and turned the phone off and just cried. And I that was a turning
Sounds
point
familiar.
for me, that I thought, like, I can't continue being everything for everyone else and not being anything for myself. Like, something has to change. And so I did. For a while, I rerouted the phones so they went to our main phone office line instead of direct, although I've been bad with that even lately now because my cell phone's on all my emails, which I need
that's
to remove,
okay. But you also, like, I had a friend yesterday who called me. You know, her father passed away recently, and she's a very successful business owner, and she's great, and she mentors a lot of people. She's one of those very selfless people, and people plug into her all the time. They plug in there for their juju.
Right.
And I'm totally sound like my therapist saying that. But I said to her, I'm like, you got to stop.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay that is who you are as a person, and that's never going to change. But, like, the one thing I know that makes you happy is, like, being around your birds or, like, being outside. So what did she do yesterday? She took her lunch hour and went to Sunken Gardens, because I told her to. And I was like, walk around and look at the birds for an hour and leave your phone in the car. And she did. And she was like, I'm so happy. And even though that's not going to fix her, it's going to take her time, obviously. Grief is a very long process.
Yeah, but those little moments.
But for her, she did it for her. I mean, she runs a very, very busy business. And I said, look, you have 75 employees. Like, it's not going to fall down like a house of cards. And it was okay that she did that.
Yeah.
I said, you need to, like, take time for you and your husband and be together, just them. And they were.
Right, absolutely.
I'm surprised to get a phone call from her husband being like, great idea.
Yeah, you probably will. You know, and that is one of the reasons.
Because she's like you, always on the phone, always texting, always like.
Well, and you want, when you're a nurturer and you want to help.
She is.
And I've come to the conclusion, I mean, I realize I am here to help others find their truth.
What a great purpose.
And you know, and ultimately live the life that they're intended to. I know this. So you don't want to discount or not attend to people. So I've learned, as long as I continue to take care of me.
Right.
You know, and
but it's okay for those people, and not to interrupt you, but it's okay for those people to step in the pothole. That's the one thing my dad used to say to me too. Like, you got to step in the pothole because that's how you learn.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you got to, like, push the bird out of the nest and have them fall on their face. But I'm going to be here to pick you up, but I need you to try.
I always say I want to help cushion the blow a little.
Yeah.
So that you don't necessarily have to go through everything.
But if I just did it for you, then what's the point?
Absolutely.
I mean, okay. So this is something I joke about all the time. Like, I'm not open table. You know, people just call me for reservations, like, even out at my restaurants. And I'm like, did you even try? Did you look? Oh, you need a 13 top on Valentine's Day at 7 p.m.? I mean, my thing is, like, try. Mm-hmm. It would be so easy just for me to do it for you. And there are times where I can help those reasonable requests, I should say. Mm-hmm. But, like, I had somebody ask me for a 10 top tomorrow night at Burns, like, yesterday, and I was like, absolutely not. There's no way, and I'm not going to even ask, because that's a ridiculous request. And while there are times I can make things happen, this particular person, we're friends, but, like, it's not like he's, you know, the godmother of my child or something. Right. And I know that sounds horrible, but, like, everybody's important at that point. And so I have to separate it and say, it just needs to be like, you come from I always come from a place of yes. I'm in hospitality, right?
Right.
But sometimes you just have to say no. Yeah. Like, and again, go back to that self-preservation. Right. I didn't feel bad saying no, because I knew it was impossible. Yeah. And why put me in a position where I have to ask for something,
or that you have to say no? You know,
you should have said, that's never going to happen.
Right.
Even if I called her and she's like a magical unicorn, I can't make that happen for you. Yeah. Oh, well, I just had to ask. Okay, well, I get you're doing your due diligence, but you already knew sitting there what I was going to say to you. Like, that's an impossible ask. Yeah. So even for my own family, like, I'm like, I couldn't even make that happen for me. And I'm not going to bump. I've got 800 reservations. Like, it's not happening. Right. So.
And, there's a way you do things, and you do those for a reason.
I also just think, this whole idea of, and I'm sure you've been seeing this, especially with COVID, like this, oh, well, if I did this for you, Kelly, you need to put me in the magazine, like that kind of tit for tat. That's not how business should be. Yeah. People want to be a part of your magazine or be a part of your life because of the things that you offer and who you are. But if it's very one-sided, right, and it's only about that tit for tat,
right, Yeah.
And that's not somebody you want to be around. Like, people want to support you whether you put them in the magazine or not. I want to support you because I'm your friend. This is amazing. Thank you. But, like, I still loved you anyway. I'm not going to be like, now you have to put all my restaurant clients in there. I mean, maybe if you put one, sweet. But I'm not, like, that's just not how it works. And I know that. And unfortunately, I think there are a lot of people who just are like, well, but I did this for you. Yeah. What did you exactly do for me again? Because I thought I thought you called me Open Table last week because you did. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I kind of just, it's not about like a checklist of, and maybe, and I know, I hate to bring this up, but obviously our friend passed away recently. And that's one thing he always taught me in business. He did so many things for so many other people and for the community. And it never was about what he got. It was what he got out of giving.
Well, and at the end of the day, we can't take anything with us. There's nothing that I mean, at the end of the day, all we are going to do is reflect on the way we made people feel, the lives that we touched, and the goodness that we did. So,
I mean, I sat there at a celebration the other night, and 500 people were there, and a lot of people were like, I don't think I know 500 people, and B, I don't know that 500 people would show up at something like this for me.
I'm sure they would. But
but like several people were saying this, and it made me think, like, how amazing that and how remarkable that you had such a life that touched so many people in so many great ways.
That's what it's about. I mean,
in so many kind ways.
I love the Maya Angelou quote. It's not so much about what you said, right? It's about how you make people feel. And that's
well, I think his philosophy, and I'm talking about Dr. Randy Feldman, if you guys know that, was like, you had to always need to be felt like you're the most important person in the room. And very, very early on, he was my mentor and the person that hired me for my first job, which is kind of craziness, yeah. At the Carrabba's on Southdale Mabry. And
really?
He used to say to me, you never know who's in the room. Like, you got to act like everybody in the room is important because you never know who's in the room.
That's
and
great advice.
I got to tell you, that has rung true so many times for me, so much so that when where we had his celebration was at Salt Shack, and I met like the right person in the room. There's 500 people at Salt Shack. I meet the right manager who makes all that happen. And for him the other night, I'm like, and I told him that story. I said, you were the right person in the room. And here we are. And he's like, well, I just thought you were nice too. But I'm like, but I never would have been that ballsy, pardon my candor, if I hadn't learned that from somebody. Again, these people that teach you these little nuggets of wisdom. And again, stepped in the potholes. Randy was, 25 years older than me. He clearly had done many, many more things in business than I had when he met me at 23, like a deer in headlights. Yeah. So you have to take all of that valuable knowledge and say, okay, he's done it. Yeah. He's also been 23 doe-eyed.
Exactly. And
maybe he wished he had a Randy.
Right. And that is where it's so great. I talk a lot, and I can talk forever, but I have learned to stop.
That's probably
talking.
why we get along. No, but you have to listen.
Yes,
that's the other thing. He always listened, and as much as he was a talker in the life of the party, and
because I already know what I have to say. I want to know what you have to say, and I learned even in real estate because somebody would walk in the door that I was going to sell a home to, and I'm thinking, all right, there's no way that you're $1 million buyer, and little do yes, he was.
But you never know who's in the room.
Exactly. No, that's great advice.
I say that all the time. Like, my mother looks very unassuming, and she could like buy and sell all of us, but I don't. But that's not who she is. She's not the person driving a flashy car and a brand new Louis Vuitton handbag. Like, that's not important to her.
Yeah.
It's just not who she is. It's not how she was raised. It's just not what she cares about. Yeah. She cares about her dog and her kids.
And even like what these women were talking about, and Rhea Law and Pam
she likes nice paper. Like, she has nice stationery. Like, yeah. That's like her splurge.
Well, these people, these women, their life mission right now is just to instill as much passion and just.
Rita's very unassuming, and then you're just like, you're a rock star. Well, and talk about a rock star.
Yeah, and too, we all go through so many things, and we really never know what somebody's going through, and yet you have these powerful, amazing women
who show grace. Like, she is such a pillar of grace and kindness, despite her own personal tragedy. And
she wrote an amazing article in the last issue, actually for the Tribute, which was, with life challenges, do they really make you stronger? And she taught, and that's really what Edge, we can talk about sales, we can talk about marketing, Edge is really about looking beyond that. We focus on the individuals behind the business. It's just like you said earlier.
But it's full picture, there's reasons,
it's the mind.
Maybe you're going to, let's say, maybe you went and had Dr. Feldman treat you because you liked who he was. He was probably more expensive as an orthodontist, but didn't matter to you because you knew what you were getting. Right. I always say it's like the hotel mentality. When people hire me for events or PR, I'm like, okay, look, there's lots of types of Marriotts, right? There's a Fairfield Inn, there's, Courtyard by Marriott, there's a Marriott, there's a Ritz-Carlton, there's a JW. Like, I'm the Ritz-Carlton. And you know what you're getting. And if you want that, then great. If you want a Four Seasons type experience, then great. That doesn't discount any of the other brands and how great they are and the service they'll give you. It's just, I have my level of service and what I want to produce for people is there.
Right.
And that's just how I've grown to be there.
And you know your value. And I think that is something too that takes us a while to get there. Because we were just talking about that earlier when I was saying, I'm down here and they're up there. Sometimes we don't.
But you're not.
We don't, because we don't look at ourselves that way. We are always looking at ourselves not comparable in a sense to these women that we look up to.
Well, and I remember when I got one of my first very big checks for an event, and I called Randy from the parking lot of a Panera, and I was like holding the check in Carrollwood. I was like, what do I do? He's like, go to the bank. And it wasn't about, because there need those people to say, like, it only takes one. And one turned to 3, turned to 5, turned to legacy clients that when you're giving them contracts, they don't even sniff at it. One of my other, who's a good friend of Randy, who's I've done many, many events for, we negotiated my fee back and forth, and he was like, well, this is what I feel comfortable paying. And I looked at him and I said, I was like quiet for a second. I said, well, what would you, if I called you Stuart, I would say, hi, Stuart Lasher, and I told you that this happened to a client, what would you tell me to do? He's like, I'd tell you to counter. I said, that's exactly it. So I'm going to counter you tomorrow. And I think he was so taken aback that I had learned this from him that when I called him back the next morning, he was like, doesn't even matter what I accept. And to me, what a great business lesson, because I was student teacher and I'd worked with him so much and we were such good friends and we are great. We love each other, period. But what a great lesson, because it was, while we have a very personal relationship, he taught me something so valuable in business. I kind of stood my ground. I held the line, and he was like, I'm so proud of you for doing it. Because for him, it wasn't necessarily about the money. It was I don't know if he was challenging me in that moment.
Maybe.
I'm kind of glad he did.
Yeah.
Because
what
it did do is the other client that maybe I don't have the personal relationship with, I'm going to be like, this is what it is. Thank you so much. I'm so looking forward to doing your event. And then I can call him and be like, yippee, that's, again, those little business nuggets. I was so proud of myself at that moment. And his wife was like, damn, girl. I'm like, look at me. I am your little protege.
Right? And you're like,
I was. No, and we just laughed about it on Tuesday again. I was like, man, you've taught me so much. He's like, I call it the Stuart Lasher School of Business. I'm like, I don't need an MBA. Geez, I'm getting another master's, but you've already given me one. But
well, it's interesting what we take away and what we learn and what stays with us. And I do think sometimes it's patience of
patience.
You have to get there and learn, and it takes
and
time.
I think you learn from people. I also was kind of a very defensive person when I first met Randy, for example, not because I don't really know why I was. I just think I was young and scrappy, and hungry, if you will.
We think we know everything, don't? I
didn't know anything.
I was already a mom and married at 18.
I didn't know anything, and I think
I thought I did. I didn't.
But talk about learning patience and how to listen, and okay, take a step back. It's not because you're not right or wrong. Just hear all sides of the argument. What a great skill set, because if I just clap back instantly at all my clients, if someone says to me, a restaurant, we're going to sell donuts because we think that people eat them at lunch, rather than me saying that's the dumbest freaking idea I've ever heard, I'm like, okay, well, why do you want to sell donuts? What about the donut fits in our brand? What do you like about that? Do you just like donuts? Does it just sound like a good idea? And I think when it's a little more collaborative like that, Then it comes back around and be like, oh, well, maybe selling donuts is a dumb idea.
I think sometimes you just need to talk out loud about things too.
Yeah.
And then you hear yourself. And
like, I mean, I just want to know, where did you come up with, so like I do the same thing with clients. We'll say, well, I just want to spend $5,000 on flowers. I'm just using I'm like, well, where'd you get that number? It just sounds good. Well, sounds good, but do you realize you have like 32 tables? And you need 15 of those arrangements need to be like 2 feet tall, and
depending on the type of flower.
Yeah, you like orchids
chosen.
and peonies,
right.
and they're out of season. I mean, like, let's talk through this. So if $5,000 is your number because it sounds good because you pulled it out of the air, that's great. But this is what $5,000 is going to get you. Yeah. Oh, that's not what you want? Okay, well then let's talk about what your number needs to be or really can be, so you can maybe get some of what you want. Because you can't have unicorns and hot air balloons and peonies and ranunculus because they're expensive. Yeah. Or whatever, it's just not what you don't know. And I always say that too, like you gotta educate people about what they don't know. I wouldn't try to tell you how to run a magazine, just like you wouldn't tell me how to put on a party. It's like together we can work together and learn, and I can learn so many valuable things about your business. I would never tell you I understand print, media, and advertising. But I ask, like, where'd you come up with this rate? Fine. Right. So I can go back to my client and say, this is why it's X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. And it's nice to have
and I didn't set the price. I always tell people,
right.
I'm not the chair guy. I didn't set the price of the chair. I don't make it $8 and the delivery fee. Yeah. Like, they do that because they know what the gas costs and the labor and this and that. So I can tell you what I think it is because I've done it 100 times. I know a chair is $8. But this is why the chair is $8. I know you think it's $5 because that sounds good to you.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing even with real estate. When somebody wants to buy a home and they have all these things that they want, and then you say, "What's your price range?"
And then they're like,
$100,000.
Well, haven't you seen like those house hunter memes? They're like, "Oh, I'm a dog walker and my budget's $1.7 million." You're like, okay.
Or even when you go and list a home, and people think their home's worth $2 million, and it's not. So
I feel for my real estate agent friends because the market's so crazy right now, and people are just like, oh, on Zillow it says blah 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 blah, and I'm like, my real estate friends are like, yeah, but look at your comps,
Yeah, and that's.
How about reality?
Right, and that's. I think sometimes it's our job as consultants of whatever specialty we're in is to bring people back to reality and
educate them,
and and I think that's why they choose or maybe are not, are not attracted, that way. But I mean, they're drawn to us in a sense because of our expertise in a certain area.
Right, but it goes also back to your point of like they're also like your aura and your warmth, the fact that you handle your business in a personal way. Right. And there are so many impersonal things in business. There's nothing I say this too about my restaurant clients and to all my staff. Bad service can ruin any meal. Period. I don't care how good your food was.
Absolutely.
So it is so imperative that you give great service because the great service, even if your meal kind of sucks, you're going to get through it.
Because they're going to say, yeah, the meal might have not been that good, but I'm going to go,
I was at one of my restaurants the other day, and my meal was a little lukewarm. And I said to my friend, I was like, mine wasn't as warm as it needed to be, but like the server was so on point and so kind. And so I was like, I don't even care. Like, it still tasted great. So what do I care? That it was warm and not like piping hot. Now, is that feedback? I would then go to my owner and chef and say, hey, I'm Joe Blow Table. I'm not writing the Yelp review, but we need to think about how long that sat in the window because it probably sat there 5 minutes too long. Mm-hmm. And that's something we can correct so easily. Right. And I always say that, like, these are easy corrections that people complain about 9 times out of 10, or who want a free gift card.
Yeah.
Story of my life.
Well, it seems, I've got a friend, just attorney friend. It seems like everybody's complaining or has. Too often people are too quick to judge, I think. And
especially I feel like COVID has made people angry. And I don't know what that is. But again, going to the camera, like, don't be angry. Show grace and kindness. It's okay to be nice. But again, really address a manager. Find the person in the room that you need to talk to because we want to course correct. It's not a bad thing. Constructive criticism is great.
Right.
But when you start acting like a jerk, I'm going to be less likely to want to help you because you throw a hissy fit about something that's so trivial that literally with a calm, easy conversation could have been fixed.
Yeah, and most likely that person was going, it didn't have anything
judging.
to do with the restaurant.
I mean, something happened with another restaurant. They thought they were being seated second to another reservation, but the reservation was actually in front of them. And the son like made this comment and this whole scene, and he had no idea what was really happening. He just interpreted his own vision of what was happening, and that wasn't even accurate.
Right.
And it's just like, slow your roll, take a second.
And I think
you're going to get seated in like 1 minute,
I think part of the reason I'm still here all these years is just the fact that I do take things, not personally, but we do have that feeling, that.
Well, you probably are vested, like you want to do a great job for somebody because they're your friend.
Well, and it's not, our annual partners are our main revenue source. Yes, we sell ads a la carte, but most of our annual partners, they have ads that they get, but it's I want to make sure that our annual partners, we're about 87% annual, residual, and we want to keep it that way. So I focus mainly on making sure everyone is happy.
It's the same reason.
It's never about today. It's about longevity.
It's the same things. I take, my PR clients are on like either a 6-month or a year retainer, and I've been on with them for years. I have new clients, but they stay with me for years, and it's because I make sure that we're talking and meeting monthly and talking, I go in every other week or every week and say what do we need to be improving on? What do we need to be doing better? Because there's some security in that, knowing that I have a contract with them till June, let's just say. And they don't even sniff at the renewal. They're just sign it and send it back and keep going. And there's something to be said for that. But I think it's because I put them in a place of comfort.
Absolutely.
They know what they're getting. They know they trust me. They count on me. It's not about having the Instagram password. I hate to say it, but you keep producing.
Yeah.
And it's not about, I could be, I've been with Burns 11 years. At this point, it's not about me producing a New York Times article every month.
Yeah.
It's about being consistent and knowing that right now I have a chef going on a TV show at Channel 8. You got to multitask. You got to keep it going. And just because I've got things, I make sure it's managed. I make sure, my PR manager is with my chef. Burns has stayed with me for so long because I want to make sure, that my team and my chefs are getting what they need. Absolutely. And if they're not getting it, they tell me. These last month, I've been through so much personal tragedy. They have been unbelievable to me and super supportive because they're like, look, all you've done is support us left and right. We're here for you. It's okay. It's okay that you didn't post on Instagram today. We got it. We got you. And they didn't want me to put the undue pressure on myself because I didn't want to let them down. But at the same time, they weren't going to let me down. Yeah. They're like, we got you. You got us. We got you. So to me, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
And
you have each other's back in a sense.
Well, and I think that with my event clients, events, I don't want to say they're one and done. I do have legacy event people, I was talking about, Stuart and his wife Clarissa. I do a lot of events for them. I consider them a legacy client, even though they're great friends. But some events, it's you do their wedding and then you don't talk to them again. You see them occasionally, or they like your Instagram posts, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not I literally thought about this yesterday. One of my wedding clients, I probably talked to them 3 times a day. I did their wedding in a span of about 3 months during COVID. We did an 8-person wedding. And I've known this particular person a really long time. And I was like, well, I haven't talked to him. I should really just text him and say hi.
Yeah, let them know you're thinking about
Just be like, hey guys, right. I walked by the bakery, wanted to say hi. We should have champagne. They would love it. But they're in their own life. I'm in my life. So I'm glad that I did that because that's the kind of stuff you need to do. Just a little, I'm still here. They'll probably never hire me for an event again. I don't care.
Oh, you never know.
But that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is they're my friends and I care about them, and we had a beautiful celebration of that for them. And so that's what I think.
No,
I think it's
all about relationships.
It's just you got to foster all of that.
Yeah.
Whether they're on retainer or not. Like I said, your annual partners give you that. You can take a breath, and you can pay your mortgage, but at the same time, I think some of my event clients have been also a great referral source because they trust me and they're out of those places and they're like, She's amazing. Call her.
And, it's even, going through COVID, we were down, we weren't able to get our, middle magazine out last year. We didn't have the events. We had one for our nonprofit, but we weren't able to do everything that we wanted to do last year. But nonetheless, everyone renewed. And that is an amazing feeling when, even though you don't feel.
I lost one client during COVID, and it was a smaller client, and it was not because of me, just like we said.
Yeah.
It was more like financial. Right. And COVID was rough on them, but they kept me through August. And it was really hard for her to let go. And we still talk, and something tells me that it'll come back around. Absolutely. I actually kind of think it's going to sooner than later, but I love them. And same thing, refer them business. We check in, I go in there. They're great. They're great people. And that's the thing. But all my other clients kept me. They were like, no, we can't lose you now.
Right.
Okay, that's fantastic. It kept me going because I had no event income. So when your revenue is down because I have no event, I always just say my events were kind of like gravy because I get these nice punches of paychecks with events, and gone.
Yeah.
Gone. And it was hard. It's been hard, but you recover. And now, I literally said to somebody the other day, I have like 6 weddings this year. I'm like, oh my God, what did I have 6 weddings? I don't do that many weddings, but that's what people are celebrating. Yeah. So. Okay, and it's fine. They're all lovely people. I have very easy breezy clients. I'm kind of excited about that. But what a blessing to be able to have anything to do. Yeah. And the events are coming back. And again, that we live in Florida and that we're able to host gatherings, that I was able to give my best friend the best send off on Tuesday. It would have killed me if I couldn't, because truly, that's what he deserved.
Yeah, and thank God we're at the point of this pandemic that we are.
I'm glad that it happened the way that it did. Yeah. And, my father, again, who lives in Washington, D.C., he came down and was like, this is so great. He would have loved it. But to think if I couldn't have done that.
Oh, I'm sure he was there. He was.
I definitely know he was there. The guy's been haunting me. So
I'm confident of that for sure. And what an amazing thing to do for someone.
To be honest, what was great about it too, and talk about not burning bridges, and there were people there I hadn't seen 10 or 15 years from business or otherwise, and nothing. I don't say nothing had changed. We've clearly changed, but it was just. Because I've maintained my professionalism in my personal life, and it was easy, and there was no animosity or, oh God, I can't wait, I can't see that person. Come on, get over it. I'm not 25 anymore.
Well, and what Rhea always talks about quite often is our integrity. Really, all we have is our word. All we have is who we are and our credibility.
What would you write on your tombstone? You have to kind of think about that.
It goes back to the end. Like I said, at the end of the day, it's not about how much money you have in the bank. It's really about.
Can't bury it in the ground. I guess you could bury it in the ground. That'd be dumb. But
you can share it and give it to people. But ultimately, it's about what you did while you were here and how you.
I think it's important to live your life with that. Come from a place, again, the place of yes, or the place of kindness or grace. The whole reason I did that, and people can read about in the magazine, but I did the First Responder Project and fed first responders and nurses in nursing homes and police officers during COVID.
You've been so great.
And then I did with Starting Right Now, and did 4,000 meals for all the foster kids. It wasn't about me. It was about the fact that think about all those people every day that were doing something for someone else. And then those foster kids who lost their chef and they had nowhere to, what were they going to do? Every one of my, 41 restaurants helped me feed those kids. 41. That's insane to me. And it goes back to relationships. I didn't know all of them, but what did they do? What did the guy from Taco Bus? Call this person. What did the guy from Holy Hog, Danny's? Call this person. Mm-hmm. Call Dave Burton. All of them, we all know each other in the restaurant world some way or other. But how can we each help each other? Yeah. Richard Gonzamer is saying, I'm going to take over 3 meals. I'm going to do this. Can you fill these ones? Yes. Everybody's where do you need space?
They're doing their part, right.
Allison Adams with Casper's company, we did McDonald's one day, but then we did Oxford Exchange. Then Chick-fil-A did all the breakfast because who doesn't love Chick-fil-A breakfast? And she was amazing. Emily's the greatest. It was just awesome. And everybody came out. PDQ delivered, we couldn't bring the food truck, so they delivered the food. It's just been, I mean, Burns, my chef at Burns, made them a Friday night meal like you get at Burns. These kids will never go to Burns. Mm-hmm. And they got to have a Burns meal? I was like, damn, I want to eat with these kids. So, once a week, Forbici, we fed them lunch every Wednesday. Yeah. Or dinner, lasagna dinners. We switched it up. But, like, I'm so grateful that these friends, Eddie V's, like these kids got Eddie V's, they got Donatello. Well, pick the restaurant, they got it.
Thankful to people like you two that kind of stood out and led and orchestrated, some of that, because again, like Jeff and Forbici and all the different, they're trying to stay afloat and do their thing.
Right, but talk about somebody like, Vicky Sokolik, who's starting right now. She is a very selfless person.
She was on our nonprofit issue, yeah.
She's amazing. And she reached out to me and said, I'm so sorry you had to cancel WineFest. So she reached out with her kindness to me. And then I said, is there anything you need? This is all when COVID just like shut the world down. And she said, oh, we lost our chef. I've got to figure out how to feed these kids. And I was like, give me a minute. Well, and then it turned into like 75 days of all of that.
So you're referring to Starting Right Now, which is a phenomenal organization that actually our nonprofit issue. You can go back to edgemediahub.com. You can click on the digital version. You can read through it right there. But read Vicky Sokolik. It's amazing. Even how she came up with the idea of creating this nonprofit. It's just amazing. We're almost out of time.
Yeah.
We have about a little over
great.
a minute
Wow.
left. It goes
Heart Vicky. Talk about,
she phenomenal.
There needs to be more people in the world like a Vicky and a Tim Marks and Thomas Mance, all these great nonprofit leaders. I could go on and on and on.
But they didn't start that way, which is so interesting. One step leads to another, that leads to another, that leads to another.
But you take, and I know we've got a lot, but like I'd say this, I take lessons that I've learned. Like Tim Marks to me is such an amazing nonprofit CEO because like he runs it like a business. And talk about like valuable lessons. I've done so many events with them, and we sit and we talk about business, and like I treasure that time.
Yeah. Oh. I feel
I'm
like
so proud of
the
that.
luckiest person ever, just to sit down and just be able to share everyone's stories. And even Tim was in our nonprofit issue too.
You picked all the good ones.
Yeah, just such phenomenal people. Anyway, we're just about out of time, but Brooke, thank you so much for being here.
I don't want to have drinks with people for an hour. This is great.
It is. It's a lot of fun getting to talk, and the shows go really fast when you enjoy, and the conversation's good. So thank you so much. We have your website and your information on the screen, and so make sure you check out RSBP
events and PR.
Okay.
Our website's under construction, but look at our Instagram. We do events, weddings, social PR, you name it.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So check out edgemediahub.com. Again, you can email us for additional information, subscribe to our magazines, think about an ad in the women's issue coming up, and until next time, never stop dreaming. We'll see you soon. Thank you.